Thank you, Dr. Shumana and AIOC for this opportunity to present in this instruction course. I'll be speaking on pseudophakic macular edema. So cystoid macular edema or pseudophakic cystoid macular edema is an important post-operative complication of cataract surgery. It compromises the result of a good cataract surgery and apparently uneventful, uncomplicated cataract surgery. Can occur even after uneventful cataract surgery, but the incidence rapidly increases after complicated cataract surgeries. So CME is a primary cause of reduced vision following both cataract and vitreoretinal surgeries. So if you see the overall incidence in Indian patients, you see clinical CME of around 2% in uncomplicated cataract surgeries, and if you see the angiographic CME rates, it's around 20%. And if you see the same incidence in patients without diabetic retinopathy, it's around 47%, and with diabetic retinopathy, it goes up to around 55%. So about half of patients with diabetic retinopathy is prone to develop pseudophakic macular edema after cataract surgeries. So the pathophysiology is basically inflammation due to surgical manipulation, and it is the major cause of the cystoid macular edema. The CME can be divided into two parts. One is the angiographic CME, which is defined by presence of fluorescein leakage and detected by fluorescein angiogram, and clinical CME when patients come with a decreased vision and diagnosed by biomicroscopic examination. Angiographic CME is more common than clinical CME, but we have to understand that most of the patients of angiographic CME are asymptomatic. This is classified into 4 levels. Level 1 is edema less than 360 degree perifoveal. Level 2 is minimal but 360 degree perifoveal edema is seen. Level 3 is moderate or perifoveal edema. Level 4 is severe 360 degree perifoveal edema. So if you want to classify CME, you will see acute CME appears within 4 months of surgery. Late onset occurs after than 4 months post-operatively, and chronic CME which lasts more than 6 months. So what are the symptoms? Decrease in visual acuity is the commonest symptom. Loss of contrast, sensitivity and color vision is also complained by patients. Metamorphopsia is a type of a distorted visions, can also be seen following cystoid macular edema. The signs are clinically significant foveal edema and retinal thickening more than 300 micron, seen as a loss of the foveal reflex. It can be seen both in slit lamp biomicroscopy or direct or indirect ophthalmoscopy, but slit lamp biomicroscopy is the most sensitive indicator for detection of pseudophakic macular edema. Subclinical foveal edema is described as edema less than 300 micron, and it can be sometimes, because it is an inflammatory condition, it can be sometimes associated with vitritis and optic nerve head swelling. The risk factors of CME are systemic diseases, pre-existing ocular conditions, and intraoperative complications. Identifying the risk factors for CME is crucial for prevention and adequate treatment. So what are the risk factors? Diabetes mellitus promotes the development of CME even in the absence of diabetic retinopathy. And systemic hypertension increases the incidence. Furthermore, it is a risk factor for retinal vein occlusion, which promotes development of CME. The ocular conditions that can predispose to CME are retinal vein occlusion, glaucoma, vitreoretinal interface changes such as epiretinal membranes, and uveitis. The risk factors for intraoperative complications are posterior capsular rupture, vitreous loss, incarcerated vitreous in the incision, cortical remnants in the vitreous, trauma to the iris, intraocular lens dislocation, premature posterior capsulotomy, and iris fixation or anterior fixated IOLs. So these are all the complicated situations in which the patients are very much predisposed to formation of cystoid macular edema post-surgery. But diabetes is one of the most important risk factors for development of CME. The incidence of CME is about 2.54 times increase in patients with diabetes as compared to patients without diabetes. Now, the diagnosis of CME can be done clinically by imaging techniques like color fundus photography, fluorescein angiography, optical coherence tomography, functional testing like electrophysiology, autofluorescence, and retinal thickness analyzer. But in a clinical setting, what we need to do is OCT. Fluorescein angiography is indicated when you want to differentiate a pseudophakic CME in a case of retinal vein occlusion or in the background of a diabetic retinopathy. So if a patient of diabetic retinopathy after cataract surgery develops a cystoid macular edema, one can do an fundus fluorescein angiography to differentiate whether it is a pseudophakic CME or it's a diabetic macular edema. In a pseudophakic CME, you will get disc staining. On the other hand, in a diabetic macular edema, the disc will be cold or no staining. But for a routine practice, an optical coherence tomography will suffice. So this is a color fundus photograph showing a cystoid macular edema, and the fundus fluorescein angiography of the left place showing a petaloid leakage surgery of cystoid macular edema. This is a classic OCT of a patient with pseudophakic CME. You can see the nuclear layers are ripe with cysts. So this is a classic presentation of a cystoid macular edema. Coming to the management of CME, prophylaxis is the most important step. Prevention, try to do an atraumatic surgery. Surgical complications are not in the hands of surgeons. Always, in the best of hands, we can have complications. Even if we have complications, manage the complications wise so that the predisposing events are cut off. Surgery, if the patient is not responding to medical therapy, we go for surgery. Also, if there is presence of vitreomacular traction in OCT, surgery is needed. But first line therapy is medical therapy with non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, corticosteroids, and carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Prophylaxis is the most important part. So prophylaxis must be considered, especially for patients with risk factors like diabetes, uveitis, venous retinal occlusions, intraoperative complications like posterior capsular rupture, cardiovascular diseases. So patients with uveitis, diabetes, retinal vein occlusion, whenever they are planned for cataract surgery, it is a good idea to start an NSAID 7 days prior to surgery and continue that NSAID at least 1 month post-surgery, even if the patient is asymptomatic and the patient does not have any CME. Treatment strategy is basically inhibition of the inflammatory cascade. Despite newer cataract surgical techniques, management of CME still remains a therapeutic challenge. Inhibiting the inflammatory cascade is a core strategy for CME risk reduction. Topical NSAIDs and corticosteroids are the first-line modalities. I personally prefer giving topical NSAIDs for at least 2 months before switching over to corticosteroids or any other form of treatment. If the patient has a CME, you start with patient with a Nepafanac, and you observe the patient for 2 months. Most of the time the CME will resolve. If the patient's CME is not resolving after using NSAIDs, we can step up the therapy. Step up the therapy can be in like using a corticosteroids, which can be used in a topical method, or best it can be used in a subtenon or an intravitreal injection. So intravitreal injection is preferred because there is always a higher risk of glaucoma with the subtenon depot injection. So the first line therapy of pseudophakic macular edema is NSAIDs. If the NSAIDs does not work for at least 2 months, then you switch over to corticosteroids, preferably an intravitreal formulation. Anti-VEGF agents does not have much of a role in pseudophakic CME because this is mainly an inflammatory condition. And pharmacological vitreolysis agents are not available in India. But if the patient shows vitreomacular traction on OCT, do consider vitrectomy.